I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Explore the moon, the planets, and the interplanetary environment of our solar system. To investigate the sun and its relationship to Earth, the geophysical properties of the Earth, and the physical nature of the universe. To determine the biological effects of the space environment on Earth life form, and to search for and analyze extraterrestrial life. To develop experiments for manned space flight, which use the special capabilities of a trained astronaut as a sensor, manipulator, and evaluator. Provide pre-doctoral training for scientists and engineers, and grants for space science research projects and laboratory facilities to best use university resources for the national space effort. To develop and manage nuclear on which rely on
All right, welcome back to another episode of Rise to Liberty podcast. Let's see. So today I think it is probably a good idea to be able to go over, well, pretty much everything that happened this last week. Um, what a hell of a week, right? Um, at this point, I'm not quite sure exactly what to say about all of it. Um, so anyone that has been living under a rock this entire week, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, which personally, I'm not a big fan of Charlie Kirk. Um, my opinion, he's pretty milk toast, middle of the road, like Fox News boomer conservative. You know, it's not he's not anything like out there. You know, so but many people have made the point that he is that, and if that's what would happen to him, then it would happen to almost any of us, or any of us, not almost, any of us. So, which I agree with, especially the people that actually are more radical. Um, I mean, everyone's a target at this point. But what I have seen from all of this has been an amazing amount of propaganda and psyops running. Um, I mean, genuinely, at this point, who knows what the truth is? What the truth is? Well, actually, at this point, people are even questioning that. I was going to say we know that Charlie was actually assassinated, but I saw people questioning that earlier. It is my belief that he is definitely gone. So, I mean, people can argue about that. I don't, there's nothing for me to believe that he's still here. And then faking his death doesn't, and I don't know, it doesn't seem like they would actually, he would do that, or they would want him. I mean, I understand the whole world's a stage. This is all fabricated and everything, but also one of the most important lessons about propaganda or psyops is that not literally everything is. The reason why that's so important is because if literally everything was, then there would be no point to the propaganda or the psyop, because it would have nothing it would have nothing to measure itself against. The only reason that a psyop or propaganda actually works is because the truth, the objective truth, does exist. So, because if it didn't exist, then there would be no point in trying to subvert that truth, or to hide that truth, manipulate that truth. Sorry about that. It's bugging me. Anyways, the things that I've been seeing, obviously there are some very clear-cut cover-ups or conspiracies going on. Other things, it's just people engagement farming, or exactly what, I'm not quite sure. But that's what I want to look to today. I think it's rather important. So we are going to look at actually some of the propaganda that has been floating around this last week, today, but we're actually going to go through propaganda and PSYOP 101. So this is actually something I'm hoping that anyone that watches this, whether you're watching it here live or you're watching a replay, I hope you actually get something from this. I hope you learn to better equip yourself out there, because, man, it is rough out there. Who knows exactly what is going on? Oh, let's see here. So I think we should start. Let's see here. So first, I think we should definitely mention that we are definitely all targets. We are all targets of absolutely sophisticated psychological operations literally every single day. That was before this. It's going to be after this. It's just a matter of fact. This is not some sort of like science fiction, made up drama, whatever. These are actual things that happen that we are subjected to as citizens of the United States, or just people that happen to live in the modern world. These ops are definitely designed to steer your choices without you ever realizing it. This isn't science fiction. As I said, this is your life. From the moment you wake up and scroll your phone to the conversations you have with your partner, your boss, your friends, you are navigating a minefield of influence. Now, when we hear a term like psychological operations or PSYOPS, our minds go to big stuff, military campaigns, the stuff of Bill Colby's old spooks. We're running around with Operation Gladio and the Phoenix program, leaflets from planes, covert broadcasts, digital propaganda. And that is the big leagues, okay? But that's not the only that's not the only psychological operation that exists or that we actually do face. So planned operations are meant to mess with emotions and to control motives of individuals or entire groups of people. Usually with the idea of a strategic win in mind, whatever that win is for whatever particular group changes depending on the use case. But the core principles, the real nuts and bolts of understanding human psychology to shape how you see things and what you do, those tricks have trickled down from the battlefield and right into our homes, right into our very pocket, right into the devices that we carry around every single day. I mean, we're surrounded by it. Advertising, marketing. I mean, it's literally everywhere. So the same fundamental tactics used to break an enemy's morale, are being used in miniature by a toxic partner, for example. Anyone who's ever been in an abusive relationship, it's the same tactics. Almost like verbatim, it's almost the exact same tactics. In some of these instances where we are experiencing some of these tactics, the point is largely to make you question your own sanity, or like for instance, an advertisement would make you, or it creates a sudden urgent need for a product you didn't even know it existed like 5 minutes ago. The goal is always the same though. It's control. Control is the goal. I got to put that on a t-shirt. Control is the goal. Actually, I was joking about that, but now that I say it out loud, that actually sounds pretty good. So the only difference is in our day-to-day lives. The manipulator, whoever is running these programs, isn't some foreign government, although it can be. It might be someone who claims that they love you, or who is fighting for you in office, a boss who signs your paychecks. It can be anybody. This isn't... Psychological operations don't know any bounds. There are no boundaries for who can and do use these tactics. So the objective isn't typically geopolitical. Sometimes it is. It's really by a case-by-case basis. But it's to get you to do whatever they want, or feel what they want, get you to believe what they want. the use they use your own vulnerabilities, like your kindness and your trust, your desire to just get along. And one thing that I think has been manipulated specifically over the past week has been people their fundamental understanding of how life works, how society is structured, and what exactly is possible. That just seems to be at the forefront of a lot of arguments I've seen play out. It seems to be at the forefront of a lot of messaging, whether right or wrong. It just seems like the very foundation of what is possible, what truth is, what's actually happening is what's been at the core of all of these psyops, all of the propaganda coming out. Let's see here. So, being exposed to consistent low-grade personal psyops takes a devastating toll. So, I mean, that's kind of a big deal. It can cause things like anxiety, depression, confusion, and total loss of who you are. So it can lead to psychosis in many cases. Let's see here. But this is starting to focus a little bit too much on the individual. We will get back there. However, I think we need to answer some fundamental questions. So, what are psyops? Like, exactly what are they? What is the definition that we can work from? So this is something, well, I guess I didn't really come up with it. I used sources to be able to kind of piece this together. But this is what I was able to curate. What are psyops? Psychological operations, also called engineered reality, or SCOPs, social compliance operations, are systematic methods used to influence perception, behavior, and decision-making through manipulation of information, emotion, and social dynamics. For anyone watching, there will actually be a guide that I have been able to put together over many weeks, many months. It's going to be a guide that you'll be able to download and be able to reference. So you can take around and you can look at things and be able to determine if something specifically is a psyop. There's going to be tons of criteria. It's kind of a learning tool that I was able to put together, and it's something that I'm going to offer my subscribers and listeners. Because watching this show, I actually do want you guys to learn something. I don't want to just be talking about dates, names, things that people don't know. I do kind of want to give back to you guys as much as I possibly can. And the place I want to start is a guide that you guys can take with you to be able to remember these things. So you don't always have to reference this video, although you can reference this video at any time. Anyways, keep an eye out for that, because it's the worksheet is actually really cool, and I'm very proud of it. So one more time, PSYOP, psychological operations, also called engineered reality, or SCOPs, social compliance operations, are systematic methods used to influence perception, behavior, and decision-making through manipulation of information, emotions, and social dynamics. So now that we kind of have an idea of what it is, it kind of seems like, I mean, I don't know where you guys have been this last week, but it kind of seems like everything that has come across on social media has been a psyop. just thinking back on some of these things, it's yeah. Wow, we're drowning in it. So one thing I do want to point to is actually something I didn't come up with this. I hope this isn't copyrighted. I don't believe it is. However, the person that did come up with this, as far as I know, is Chase Hughes. Yeah, Chase Hughes. Go check him out. A wonderful resource. However, in determining when something is a PSYOP, he actually developed this acronym. It's called the FATE model, FATE. So it's basically understanding core manipulation triggers. So the FATE model identifies 4 primary mechanisms that target the mammalian part of your brain, the area responsible for most real decision making. So F for focus. How it works. PSYOPs will hijack your attention through repetitive messaging, okay? Shocking visuals and fear-inducing scenarios. Ring a bell? Examples, 24/7 hour media coverage of a crisis, constant repetition of terms like unprecedented or emergency, empty grocery store shelves, panic shoppers dominating every broadcast during a food supply scare. So detection strategy when determining when somebody is trying to divert your focus, trying to maintain your focus, trying to keep your focus. Some of the things that you can do to detect if this is actually what is happening is to pause and ask, why is this message being pushed so aggressively? Why? Why am I seeing this? Why is this the story? Another thing you can do is actually compare how much airtime different stories are receiving. So I don't know about you guys, but this last week I have been swamped with only one topic practically. The assassination. Well, okay, not one topic, but one generalized topic, I guess. Charlie Kirk, right? So, and everything around that. It has been his untimely death. What's going to happen to TPUSA? The shooter, who it actually is, what the shooter believes, which has been an incredible argument between both sides. And first of all, I think that reminds me, I think the biggest PSYOP that all of us are dealing with right now is literally one of the oldest in the book, and that's the left-right paradigm. I mean, everything is left-right right now. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. It doesn't matter where you go, really. I mean, you can go out in public and most people aren't talking like that, but I'm talking about specifically online. When you go into almost anywhere online, it is the left-right paradigm. So that is quite the feat, because I mean, it gets like that occasionally, but I think it's been manufactured that way, especially as of late. So it's much more apparent and much more in our faces. So another detection strategy for figuring out if somebody is trying to keep your focus or divert your focus is note any disproportionate focus on particular narratives. Which, let's go look at something to kind of give us an idea. Let's see here. Okay, so the largest focus right now, come on, here we go. Okay, so the largest focus right now, as far as narratives, has been Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson, was living with transgender partner. The partner, who is a male transitioning to female, is fully cooperating with the FBI. I mean, this is being reported by everyone. Now, yesterday, the entire narrative was nothing about or everything about this person, the alleged assassin, being left or right wing, right? Like that was the huge disagreement. There were massive narrative pushes from the left to say that he was right wing, and there were nonstop pushes from the right saying that he was left wing. Now, initial reports were saying that he was left, and then it flipped. So everyone fought back against that. However, this is today's narrative. So let's see here. So looking at this, I see the attempt at getting people to focus on this. Yesterday, it was everyone kind of working it out for themselves. No official reports, one way or another. Everyone was arguing whether he was right or left. Now today, all of the official media outlets are saying that Tyler Robinson was living with a transgender partner. Now, I don't know about you guys, as soon as I hear all of these media outlets start saying something like that, I get weary. Now, I don't think that automatically means it's not true. It could be half true, could be fully true. But I'm just not willing to hurry and jump on the bandwagon and say that this is exactly what it is. I told you, you stupid left-wingers, that he was one of you. It's your problem. You're the one causing it. And there are many people out there doing that. But I don't know. We haven't really seen any hard evidence of Tyler being left or right. And if you want to get to it, we actually haven't seen any hard evidence that he is the trigger man. This isn't to turn around and say that he isn't. This isn't to turn around and say that none of this is true. But there actually is no solid, irrefutable evidence that have been released to the public to say that this man is the shooter. He's the one that pulled the trigger. He ran away, hid the gun, all of these different things. And he's left wing, and he was living with a transgender partner. That is the official narrative. I'll agree with that, but I guess until the court case, we won't be able to see any official evidence. I don't know. I just get weary when there is just one narrative. So, detection of strategy. No any disproportionate focus on particular narratives. This is it. This is that. So the first detection strategy, as far as the focus part of the PSYOP goes, is asking, why is this message being pushed so aggressively? Why? I don't know. I mean, this week has kind of just thrown everything upside down. So as far as why, I mean, I think why this message is being pushed so aggressively, well, because it creates division, for one. It solidifies everyone in their beliefs, and it's able to turn around and let's see. His books and movie contracts should help pay. I mean, who knows how far they were going to go, right? I mean, I'm not even. They did release that one picture that was supposedly his partner. I don't know who that is. That could be anybody. It's like when the scammers message you on Twitter, and they'll just be like, "Yeah, this is who I am," and it's like, there's no evidence of that. I mean, you literally could have just stolen it from another real account, and you're just using it as yourself. So it doesn't really mean anything. Let's see. So we've covered focus. For anyone just coming in, we are going over what Chase Hughes, he's a PSYOP expert, psychological operations expert. I believe he came up with this model, but it's a recognition model that you can use to be able to determine if something is a PSYOP or is not. It's called the FATE model, FATE. We have just gone over focus. So we're moving to A, authority. So how this works, trusted figures unnaturally shift their positions or speak outside their expertise to support a narrative. We've been seeing that. That has definitely happened quite a few times. Lance Ripa, this is a capital P PSYOP, in my honest opinion. I could not agree more. I think this is a perfect textbook example of what a PSYOP is, how it works, what it does. So part of FATE is authority. Trusted figures unnaturally shift their positions or speak outside their expertise to support a narrative. The warning signs. So expert panelists or political commentators will be speaking outside of their fields of expertise. And when they speak outside of their field of expertise, they'll do this suddenly. This won't be like a gradual thing, like somebody naturally changing their mind. This is going to be one person is known for thinking this or saying this, and then the next second is literally sudden, outside of their norm, and it's going to be unexpected as far as what their fans are used to. Another warning sign of this whole like authority part of the PSYOP is going to be appeals to credentials or appeal to expertise. You know, trust the science. You're not an expert, so you can't think about this, or you can't speak about this. You can't have an opinion on this. These sorts of things. Or appeal to authority. Appeal to expert is actually a good thing. Or can be a good thing. But an appeal to authority is actually a logical fallacy. So the authority, trusted figures unnaturally shift their positions or speak outside their expertise to support a narrative. So keep an eye out for that. People who are not normally, like, I guess, radical right or far right. I don't even know what terms to use because they all seem propagandized to me at this point. Anyone that seems like they're shifting almost overnight, it seems sudden, and they speak from an authoritative position. They're appealing to credentials, or for instance, they're appealing to, I saw somebody earlier, they were appealing to somebody's time being spent, or someone's time being in the conservative movement. So meaning like a newer conservative hasn't been there as long as maybe somebody who was raised that way and continued to be a conservative into adulthood. And so therefore the person that was raised conservative and is conservative felt that they had more of an authority to speak on conservatism than the person that became a conservative 4 or 5 years ago. This sort of authority that kind of seems unnatural, just keep an eye out for that, because that is one of the factors that you need to be able to determine if something's a psyop or propaganda. So the detection strategies for authority. So you've got to watch very closely for endorsements where authority figures speak outside their expertise, like we have mentioned. Verify if authorities have financial or political connections to the narrative. You know, there's a lot of ways to be able to figure out why they're saying these certain things. And then the last detection strategy for authority is to question sudden shifts in expert consensus. So if all the experts or all the authority figures are saying one thing and all of a sudden switch to something else, that seems pretty obvious, or you think it would seem obvious, but it's not. It's definitely not, because this is exactly what happened yesterday when it started, or the day started with Tyler Robinson being considered left or leftist, left wing. And then about halfway through the day, there was a massive narrative shift from left wing to he's a Republican, he's far right, he listens to Nick Fuentes, he assassinated Kirk because Kirk was not right enough. So the narrative just shifts like that. And there are still people still trying to push this message. That was a massive shift, though. So these are the sorts of things that you need to look for, and you need to be able to keep in mind to be able to protect yourself from this sort of information. All right, let's see. Let's move what type of propaganda we got going on here. Let's go back up here. All right, give me just a sec to make sure. And I saved a bunch of propaganda pieces to be able to talk about today. So here's a good one. Okay, so after an internal investigation, Discord found no evidence that the suspect planned this incident or promoted violence on Discord. Well, of course not. They could possibly get in trouble for that. The FBI has documented some of Tyler Robinson's Discord messages as part of its investigation. Why would they need to do that? I mean, maybe a personality profile or something. I do find it incredibly strange that Discord was allowed to do the investigation themselves. It obviously a company, especially a social media company, would have zero reason to want to hide or destroy evidence in order to protect themselves. Like, that, of course, that would never happen. That's just a conspiracy theory. So I find it incredibly strange that they were able to do this themselves. Okay, so we're going on to T in Fate. So T stands for tribe. So tribe, how it works is that messages that create that us versus them Okay. This is the very standard division that a lot of people that don't buy into this stuff talk about. Okay. Us versus them, left versus right. Just tribal instincts. Okay. Tribal groups, tribal preferences. Black versus white, Republican versus Democrat, man versus woman, child versus adult. I mean, sport team versus sport team, whatever. It's just us versus them. The good versus the bad. So the common tactics, the very common tactics that you will know when this is actually being used is labeling groups as patriots versus traitors. Okay? This is very common. Or like back during the COOF, back during COVID, the scientific versus the deniers. Creating artificial group identities around beliefs is a very common tactic in this us versus them division. So be on the lookout for tribal language. Now, it doesn't mean that all tribal language is bad, or within reason, being tribal in a sense is not inherently bad. But this is something that you need to keep an eye out for. That's what this whole fate model is these are things to keep an eye out. So when everything does align, you know what it is. So the detection strategy for tribe is be very careful when you hear polarizing language. Of course, you shouldn't just, there's another propaganda style. It's called the bandwagon. And it means that you hop on the bandwagon. So when you start hearing the polarizing language, just realize you should probably stop, think about it, hold up, wait a minute, make sure and question why certain groups are being pitted against each other. I mean, this past week, it totally makes sense why one would be pitted against another. Now, I'm not saying that there is no reason to be upset or that there is no natural reason for this to happen, because I think there is, but it's a lot more subtle than that. I do believe that the us versus them is working so well because it is happening naturally through a event which was staged, or not staged, but that it was curated, I guess is a good way to put it. It was created. There were somebody behind the scenes pulling the strings and making the calls. And they wanted the event to be able to control the fallout. And I think the us versus them is natural and completely understandable. But I do believe that it is being manipulated. It is being directed. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Even if all of this was completely random and was a genuine coincidence, at this point in time, the powers that be will be controlling the us versus them. It's just how it is. They will be controlling it. So another detection strategy for the tribe thing is to seek nuanced perspectives that don't fit binary categories, which hopefully if you're watching this show, that's kind of why I exist. There is a lot of nuance in this entire situation. This is not black and white, because very, very few things are black and white. So Seek nuanced perspectives, question why groups are being pitted against each other, and be very careful when you hear polarizing language. These are your detection strategies for the us versus them divisions. Let's see here. In fact, I think one of the best examples of the us versus them narrative right this minute is actually the narrative that Israel allegedly had something to do with this, had something to do with the assassination. This is just like any topic that, the subject happens to be that tiny country. It is entirely polarizing, and it is creating the us versus them. So, although that is the current conversation, literally pick any of the conversations involving Israel and fill in the blank. Let's see here. Okay. All right. All right, now let's move on to the last letter in fate. So we're moving on to E, okay? Now, this one's going to be pretty obvious. E stands for emotion. Pretty simple. So how this works is strong emotional triggers, fear, hope, outrage, used without clear, verifiable evidence that bypass critical thinking, which seems like almost everything we have been spoon-fed over the last week. Something that is that has strong emotional triggers, which is using one of the really strong emotions such as fear, hope, outrage, and these strong emotional triggers are being used without clear, verifiable evidence that bypass critical thinking. So, I don't know. You tell me. Have we been experiencing PSYOPS this week? So, here's the critical point involving the emotion part of a PSYOP. Emotional responses suppress critical thinking. If facts are replaced by appeals to emotion, you need to be very cautious. I think that that's self-explanatory to why you need to be very cautious with an emotional response. When somebody is telling you to act off emotion, stop thinking. Stop thinking. Shut up. Do this. Yes, good. Feed into the rage. Like when you do anything in a high state of emotion, you never make the right decision. And sometimes those decisions, while made highly emotional, will change the course of your life. So if a news story, a source, a person, anybody or anything is trying to not only invoke this strong emotion, but they're trying to use that emotion to get you to decide on something, think something, or possibly try to get you to actually do something, be very careful. Be very, very careful. Now, some guaranteed ways that you can detect emotional manipulation, which is what it is. The first detection strategy is to analyze the evidence presented alongside emotional content. You need to ask yourself, what verifiable facts support this emotional claim? Be wary of communication that triggers strong emotions without clear evidence, which actually is pretty much everything we know about this story. I can't think of really one thing that is not. I cannot think of one thing involving this whole situation that actually has clear evidence. Maybe you guys can think of something, and if you do, put it in the chat, leave a comment, let me know. But at this point in time, let's see, we are Saturday, September 13th. It's 5:30 my time. What verifiable facts do we have? In the one, in my opinion, that is verifiable, that actually is verified, is that Charlie Kirk is gone. He was assassinated. I think that's about it. Or it happened where it happened. I think it's pretty well verified that we were able to all see it as a nation, as a state, as we were able to see it, and it all traumatized everyone. And in fact, it kept most everyone from sleeping that night. So, I mean, there are some things about this story that we can verify that are definitely factual, but it is few and far between. So, the post I have on the screen right now for all of the blind viewers is a post from Derek Bros. If you don't know, go follow him. A very, very great investigative journalist and voice for liberty. One of my favorite follows. I've had Derek on the show before, twice actually, and it was such a pleasure. Obviously I don't agree with him 100% of the time, but I still look towards what he's saying. One of a few for sure. So his post, which is from today, says, so these are the theories I see floating around at the moment. And also these are exactly what I see on my timeline as well. The official story is real. They got the right guy. Okay. The assassination was real. They got the right guy, but he didn't act alone. Okay. The assassination was real, but they got the wrong shooter. The real shooter was the guy standing to Kirk's right with a small gun under his arm. The guys making hand signals were involved somehow. The entire assassination is staged. Kirk was involved, and the death was faked. And then, let's see, what Derek says is what I consider to be the bottom of the barrel. Least likely claims the whole thing was staged using AI and or holograms. I have seen that. I mean, well, whatever. He goes on to say, this all feels very much like 9/11, COVID 1984, and other major events of the past. Lots of theories and questions, and very, very little answers. The other thing that comes to mind is that even if the official story is / was real, the majority of people obviously don't or won't accept it. So ask yourself, is there anything the authorities could do to convince you? I'm still open to it, though I find it unlikely. This reminds me that in 2017, the Bilderberg Group spoke about the post-truth world. I believe the chaos and confusion and lack of shared reality serves the agenda of the ruling class. Thoughts? Where do you stand? Well, first and foremost, I agree with his opinion that we do live in the post-truth world. This is 100% the post-truth world. We are, we are constantly living under PSYOPS and constant propaganda on both sides from both major parties. Any group that can get a hold of the narrative in any significant way can introduce some sort of narrative. Misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. It's all out there. And I do agree that it is being allowed to let go to a point where it has enough traction that it's not going to go away, that there's going to be at least a small amount of people that will cling to it. I have questions all over the place regarding this. My personal opinion at this point is that I do believe he was assassinated. And I believe that there's a reason for it. Whoever is calling these shots, obviously, I think that whatever their reasoning is, it's bullshit. I guarantee whatever the reason is has something to do with control or money or power, standards, the standard evil guy desires. I do definitely believe that I think the main intent behind all of this was to introduce chaos. Because through all the chaos, the emotion and everything, if we had advanced knowledge, we would easily be able to navigate the waters a lot easier. However, by doing this, I am, like I said, trying to teach you guys something. I want you guys to be able to walk away from this with this information in the front of your mind, to be able to walk through whatever the hell is going on out in the digital world and in the real world. It's not exclusively digital. It is affecting the real world, because unfortunately there is very little difference between real and digital at this point. They are two separate realms that are linked. However, you can drop off. You can let go of the digital world. It's not impossible. People are still doing it. Shout out Reed Coverdale. Dude just continues to be fucking based. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. So we've gone through the fate model. We'll run through that again real quick, and we'll wrap up on that and move on to some other things. So the fate model is understanding core manipulation triggers, models that identify 4 primary mechanisms that target the mammalian part of our brain, the area responsible for most real decisions. This is where a psyop and propaganda is going to attack, because then if it attacks your mammalian brain, you're going to act animalistic. Tell me both sides have not been animalistic. You can't. One side celebrates the murder of a man in front of his family, and the other side directly calls for war. It's like, you can't get more emotional than that. So the FATE model: F for focus, A for authority, T for tribe, E for emotion. These are the things you need to look out for. Let's see here. Okay. Let me pull up something else for you guys so you don't have to just keep looking at this all the time. I mean, I've seen worse. I've seen a lot worse, but you didn't come here to look at this. Let's see. God, there was just so much. I mean, I'm also practically perpetually online, part of my job, so I kind of have to be to an extent. But really the last maybe 3 days has been fairly consistent and constant. Let's see here. So I did save a couple of things, a couple of posts, propaganda posts that I did want to bring up because I think this is incredibly important. Let's see here. So this is from Andy No. So after every high-profile killing or killings in the U.S., the same mistakes repeat on X. I disagree with him there. This is not only repeatable on X. This repeats in many different places. The reason I think it does repeat on X is usually the limitations and incompetence of law enforcement. That adds to it. People are also impatient and want answers now, and they want them yesterday. Like when something bad happens, it does take time to figure out what is going on. That is a fact. That's not a psyop. That's just life. It takes time to figure out details and determine if they're real and determine if they actually pertain to whatever happened. That, like, investigating doesn't happen overnight. Well, it does, but investigating a big incident like this, it doesn't just, this is what happened. We found the person the next day, 3rd day trial, 4th day punishment. Like, it doesn't work like that. This isn't the movies. So people are impatient. Law enforcement and people's understanding of law enforcement are definitely diminished. Lots of people have Hollywood brain, and they think like law enforcement can do things that they can't. Also, I think law enforcement think that they can do things that they can't. They have a better ability to do certain things, and then it fails. They have all these technologies to be able to track and trace us. And then sometimes, I don't think it happened here, but I think sometimes those technologies don't work quite as well as they want us to believe. I think us believing what they tell us about them is part of why they're so effective, because they tell us what to believe about it or release information about, and then we just take it for what it is and say, oh yes, this is exactly how it works. There's no problems. and they say, oh yeah, it works that way, but it actually doesn't. It's not to say that those technologies aren't dangerous, because I have a major issue with them. Things are never as they appear. Things are never what we were told. So anyways, back to Andy. So one thing that was bad, and this is where the confusion starts coming in, is these false identifications, the baseless conspiracy theories, and I hate that he said that, and faked AI images. Now, the faked AI images is what I wanted to focus on. So initially, the FBI releases pictures of the person of interest, correct? Like, this is who we want to talk to. This is who we want to question. This might be our suspect. I don't know. If you see this man, call us, right? Well, they released the photo. And then what ended up happening is people thought that they would be able to put these pictures, these screenshots, which were from a CCTV security system, right? Which all college campuses have. However, right over here, let's see, let's edit me real quick. Get me out of the way. Okay, so if you see, like, what took that picture? Under the real section, what the hell took that picture? A fucking potato? Did they take... Are they doing security at this place with a fucking potato? Because what the hell is that? Well, the problem is most security cameras do not have the same market pressures, the financial markets. They don't have the market pressures to be as good as some of the other cameras. Now, that doesn't mean that good cameras don't exist. It's just that, unfortunately, in society, even though security is a major, or plays a major role, it's kind of an afterthought to many, many people. It's part of the problem, why we run into issues. But that college got upgraded to 1080p security cameras. Now, I don't know the exact specifications of these cameras. I don't know what they are. I don't know what their limits are. However, this was supposedly taken by the stairs, in a blind spot in a corner, and it should be a lot better than that. Anyways, what happened? People were taking the real photos, putting them into whatever AI thing, maybe Chat GPT or some sort of image, something or other, and they thought that they were enhancing the photo, but in actuality, all they were doing is running it through AI, which distorts it, which AI is guessing when you add a photo into whatever engine. It's guessing. It doesn't have any information, any guaranteed information to go off of. So it just kind of guesses and fills in the blanks, right? So as you can see, all three fakes were all started with the real picture. Those are drastically three different people. So I think the point of why this is so dangerous, or why it is so, like, in my opinion, kind of egregious, because now you're definitely making sure that the truth, it's going to take longer for the truth to get to us. It's definitely going to make people question that. It's going to make people question the truth when it does get to us. And it poisons the well, So this has been happening a lot, all over the place. So Andy goes on to say, is stop doing it. It's reckless, dangerous, and can mislead the public long enough for a suspect to escape. And he is correct on that. He is correct. Worse, it risks violence against innocent people being wrongly accused. Not only violence, but possible, capture and imprisonment. There's all sorts of problems with doing this. That what people were doing, and of course they want an answer like this is horrific. They want to help. That wasn't enhancing. That was not image enhancement. You don't enhance an image by literally taking it and putting it through a AI bot that has existed a year, maybe 2 years tops. No. That's not how you do that. So yes, people need to not do that. Because those are 3 different people, and these fake people don't look anything. But now this is definitely leading to, well, was Tyler Robinson actually the shooter? Is that him? How do we know the first picture is real? Like it leads to some serious things. Now, I'm not saying that we should just trust blindly. I will never say that, never recommend that. However, we do have to take everything one step at a time, right? And doing shit like this will make it more difficult. It will make the public way more suspicious and skeptical, which I do think the public could be more skeptical. So that part is okay. However, there is a point where skepticism is not healthy. And I think a lot of people have reached that this week. Fucking mouse. Okay. So if you want facts, turn to journalist with a proven record. Yes. Rely on journalists. Don't exclusively rely on journalists. That's just as retarded as going to your friend Jimmy for the facts, turn to journalists with a proven record. Yes, that should be one source. It should not be your only source. You should have multiple sources, and then you need to compare them, verify them, do everything you can, and also just use your brain. Also, watch Rise to Liberty and learn some of these skills that we're talking about as far as PSYOPS, propaganda, and be able to take that into the real world and apply it to these things when events happen. So that way you have a far better chance and you're better equipped than a lot of people. Then you can also take that information and spread it around and teach others. Just don't forget where you learned it first. Let's see. Well, while we're moving on and while that's the subject, don't forget to subscribe, follow, do all of these things, because I'll tell you, the big tech overlords, they don't want people like me growing. They don't want my channel getting out. They don't want me getting more subscribers. They don't want any of these things to happen. And so the way that we get around that is the viewer, you. This is literally a project that I put my heart and soul into, and I do it for all of you. And then I just have to ask of you to help get me out there. So subscribe, like, share. This is what lets our big tech overlords know where to send this to, who to send it to, that people liked it, that people are watching it. It's literally the difference between success and not. So it's a huge thing for me. It's a huge thing for the future of this channel and all of my projects. It's a tiny thing for you, and it's free. So if you could go ahead and hit follow, like, share, subscribe, do all of those things. Do one, do all of them, whatever. it would be a massive help. And not to mention, I would deeply, deeply appreciate it, because without this, I can't do it. And without you guys, there's no point in doing it. So, okay, enough of the mushy stuff. Let's see, where was it? Okay, so there was one more post I wanted to bring up. This was super egregious, in my opinion. There we go. So this was another post that came out yesterday that was, man, did it gain some traction. So as I mentioned earlier, the narrative started shifting and people started calling Tyler Robinson a right-winger. Well, there was a reason for that. There were accounts such as this one who did this, right? So that's Tyler Robinson. That's a Trump t-shirt. Tired of these terrorists. Because the narrative became that all political violence come from the right wing. That's not true. But so they were pushing these pictures around. And this isn't the only one. This is just one of the best examples I found for the sake of the show. But yeah, this is crazy to me. This is the actual picture that was released, that was found by whoever. I don't know. But this is a confirmed picture. This is really him. I believe it came off of his mom's Facebook. I'm 98% sure that's where it came from. And then somebody photoshopped this. So, and I don't care what side it says. The problem with that is that somebody took it, manipulated it, created a new narrative, stuck it out there as if it's true. So creating malinformation and releasing it to the public. And then what's even crazier is how far it got. So this account, anonymous or at, you know what? No, not giving them a shout out. Fuck them. You saw it on screen. You can go find it if you want. So this account had more than 5 million followers. That is huge on this platform. Okay. Like, it is massive. And it had massive reach out of nowhere. Now, I suspect that what people were doing yesterday, the leftists that were coming back onto the platform after being in their other platforms like Blue Sky or whatever, when they all came back, I believe what they were doing is putting some serious money into boosting their posts, which you can do. It's kind of like running an ad, kind of not. It's like pay to play, kind of, you know? And so you pay a bit of money, and then it artificially boosts your algorithm for a specific post. I think it's totally fine to offer that. However, I think they were using that, manipulating it, taking these posts and running with it. And it wasn't 5, 6, 7 accounts. It was hundreds, possibly thousands of accounts pushing the same message, various ways, same manipulated pictures, all boosting themselves. And they all happened around the relatively at the same time. So it was like a tidal wave. It was insane to watch. Like, I wish there was some way that I could go through and recreate just to show people watching that narrative change in real time. Honestly, it kind of felt like going crazy, because you know something. You know for a fact that this one thing is reality. Then you have all of these massive accounts. Well, actually, not. I take that back. Most of them were actually not massive accounts. This one was. Lots of them had 100, 200 followers. Some had 5,000 followers. Some had 1,000 followers. There were all sizes of accounts, all different types, anonymous, non-anonymous, or I guess, just like a public account. There were parody accounts. There were automated accounts. There was everything. It was a huge mix. And then all of a sudden, you know something to be true. And then all of a sudden, there's just a flood of everyone saying, no, that's not how it was. And slowly but surely, everything starts to get outnumbered. Everyone's saying, no, this whole new message is not real. It's not, you guys are making it up. Those voices start disappearing. That's the algorithm. But nonetheless, watching it was, it honestly, it almost gave me a panic attack, because talking about these things and seeing them happen in real time right in front of your face when you know what's happening is really intense, especially over a topic like this that has got everyone on edge. So I don't know. I'll have to figure out something someday, because I will never forget that. That was the most intense thing I think I've seen in a long, long time. However, this is exactly what happened. It was just a tidal wave of narrative change. And it came on quick. And it disappeared quick too. So, however, it makes me question all of it. So the official belief so far was that Tyler was left. He was a left extremist. I don't know, Antifa, something furry, trans, something. I don't know. On the left, and was radicalized. That was the understanding. Then they say the propagandists and PSYOP teams say that he was on the right, and then that's proven to not be true. And then now the narrative is that he was gay, I guess, and living with a transgender partner, which seems to be like a whole swing in the different direction. And I don't believe that one either. I don't know what to say about it, but this is what's happening. And this is definitely a PSYOP through and through, in the classic sense. But what's interesting is there's PSYOPs layered upon other PSYOPs, because a PSYOP has a specific purpose and meaning. Sometimes you have multiples, sometimes you need one, based upon time. Like, we need this one to run for a month. We need this one to be quick, 24-hour turnover. It's based upon the goal and how quickly they can get the goal done. So there's going to be some that last for a while, some that don't. But I think they are multi-layered, or I know that they are multi-layered. And it's happening really quick, and it's happening very aggressively. However, these are classic tactics being used in propaganda and PSYOPs, but at the very same time, there are new strategies I have noticed, or new, not iterations, but new, like a new way to do something. Literally teaching an old dog new tricks. I've seen new attempts at repackaging things. Like, it's just wild. It's almost like they're just testing everything out. It's like, hey, let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. It's wild, 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 wild. Anyways, let's get back to this. Let's see here. So those are a couple of things that just honestly blew my mind. I thought those were the best examples, but you don't have to go far to find one. And so the difference between those two pictures, the photoshopped one and the real one, the photoshopped one, I believe, had reached like 1 million impressions, meaning 1 million people saw that picture, understood it to be real. And right underneath that Photoshop picture, that same account posted the real picture, but it was like 2 or 3 posts down, maybe. So trying to sneakily be like, oh no, I provided the real one. Yeah, go fuck yourself. But so the real picture was underneath the photoshopped one, but that had only reached 50,000 people, maybe. And this was in a span of 2 hours, 3 hours, like stuff came on quick. Like, it's just mind blowing. It's just mind boggling. And so, I mean, there's still all these people out there. I guarantee there's these people that saw this that with their whole heart believe that it's true because they never saw anything different. And even if you showed them anything different at this point, there's no talking them out of it, which is a side effect of the PSYOP. And this is just one story, one thing that's happening. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Okay, so here's one more example of something I wanted to bring up, which I think is incredibly important. And then I've got some some more things to teach. So let's see here. Okay, so from Jason Bassler, at Jason Bassler 1 over on X, friend of the channel. Big fan of Jason. I've got a couple of interviews. Go check them out. Talk about technocracy and voting and all the good things. So Jason today says, and this was right before we started the show, he said, "Truth is, they could say this about any one of us. Any law they pass targeting, quote, mentally ill extremists, end quote, will be used against you too. You don't need to be violent or crazy, just non-compliant." Now, he posted a picture along with this. It's a quote that has been going around, and it's been used as evidence. Okay? Just a quote, just something from a document released by the government. That's it. The quote is, of course, "Family members and friends say he was becoming more extreme in his views and radicalized." That's it. That's the sentence. Family members and friends say he was becoming more extreme in his views and radicalized. It doesn't say anything about views. It doesn't, like, it's not even a quote from the family members. It's like this weird, like, third hand quote where it's like, sources say blah, blah, blah. Take my word for it because I am a person of information authority. I put it down on paper and this website released it, so it must be true. This has been all the evidence that people need. Okay? Like, that's not evidence. I'm sorry, it's not. You can still believe it. Doesn't mean that you can't believe it. Doesn't mean that it's not true. It likely is true. But that is not evidence. That is not proof that this is true. Hilarious meme. Love it, by the way. But now that you know what he said, let me read this tweet again and we'll move on. But it's, "Truth is, they could say this about any one of us." The day that it happened, everyone was admitting, everyone on the right anyways, was admitting that they had just become more radical, that they just became more extreme. Okay, well, what happens when the government says that extremists, people that are, radicalized, all of these different things, are now public enemy number one? What happens when they start delivering arrest orders for those people? What if they say, we're going to round them up, we're going to black bag them, and boom, you're black bagged, find out there's no due process in this country anymore. The 9/11 measures made sure to get rid of habeas corpus for suspected terrorists. You don't have to have a trial of your peers, and you actually don't even have to be officially charged with anything. If you're deemed a terrorist in this country, that's it. That is it. which made me remember I saw Republicans or conservatives directly call for the categorizing of Democrats and the Democratic Party as domestic terrorists, which is a very scary proposition to me. And I think I would like to believe that most people, when they're angry, especially when things like this, dealing with politics, I think they just say things without thinking them through. For all I know, maybe he truly meant it and knew what he meant. I think a lot of people were saying shit that they didn't quite mean, and they don't really know what the consequences would be of, what they were saying. And I think this happened a lot this week. I think this is why the emotion part of fate is so important, because even if somebody's not trying to get you to do something, but you yourself just do something while highly emotional, you're gonna do something you regret. It's just not good. And everyone suspects that this was kind of done on purpose, or that this was performed by the elite or the government or like whoever, but people believed it was like a planned event, a black swan event, if you will. And then they're going to go ahead, lose their mind, stop thinking critically, and act on behalf of emotion to an event that was meant to manipulate them. You see the problem? People aren't thinking, and that's the problem. But I wanted to point this out because there's a lot of really scary fallout from this, because of the precedent that is being set by conservatives, which is fine, I guess. I disagree with a lot of what's going on, but okay, whatever. This situation, understandable or maybe not, but that sets the precedent. And then in future incidences, it doesn't become, or it's not taboo or wrong to do that anymore because we did it then, or they did it back when that happened, so we can do it now. Like, it will backfire. It will definitely backfire. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to kind of power through this. Let's see. Okay, so there are 5 signs. There are definitely 5 signs. Let's see. Thought I had this ready to go. Okay, so 5 signs you are being manipulated, like right this second. Okay. Let's see. We'll get back to that in a minute. Oh my God. Hi, JC. Thanks for joining. Oh my God. Hi, Brandon. All right. So let's get to I should probably turn this into maybe a slideshow or nope. I'll make a Substack article and so everyone can see these. Okay. So there are 5 ways, 5 simple things. Hey, Jay-Z. 5 simple ways that we can point, or 5 simple things that we can point to that will allow you to determine if you are being manipulated right this second. Okay. So let's see. Let me pull it up. Or it's up. I'm just scrolling to it. So where is this? Oh, scrolled past it. Okay. What the hell? Where is it? Okay, here we go. Sign 1, okay? The shifting goalposts or perpetual dissatisfaction. So sign number 1, and this is a real barn burner of a tactic, is frustrating. It's a frustrating game called moving the goalpost. The whole thing is designed to keep you in a state of forever trying, always reaching for approval that's always just out of grasp. It's a master class in control, making sure you are always off balance, always trying harder, and always feeling like you're falling short. So, just a quick example. Picture this. Your partner or your boss lays out a clear objective. They say, if you could just get your schedule organized, things would be perfect. Or maybe they say, hit this sales target, and you're on track for that promotion. You hear that, so you think that. So you say to yourself, okay, clear goal, I can do that. So you pour your energy into it. You get the planners, you get set reminders, you make the spreadsheets, you go all in. And you do it. You hit your mark. You show them your perfect calendar or your sales numbers, expecting that moment of attaboy, but it never comes. Instead, the manipulator will look at what you did, gives you this little unimpressed nod and says, well, yeah, you're organized now, but you're not very spontaneous. You need to live in the moment more. Or maybe your boss says, the sales target is met, but your client feedback dipped by half of a point. We need all-around players here. This is when the goalposts have just been shifted. The thing you worked your ass off to achieve is now nothing. And a new, often contradictory target is in its place. You're left standing there feeling like a damn fool, deflated and confused. You did exactly what they asked, but it wasn't enough. With them, it's never enough. This is the moving the goalpost. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Okay, so sign number 2, gaslighting, or the reality war is what I like to call it. So sign number 2, this one is straight out of the Spooks playbook. One of the most insidious forms of manipulation out there, in my opinion, gaslighting. The term's from an old play and movie where the husband makes his wife think she's going insane. I can't remember the title. I need to put that in this. And that is precisely the goal of gaslighting, to systematically dismantle your sense of reality until you no longer trust your own memory, perception, or sanity itself. Gaslighting isn't just lying, it's lying and more. A lie is a simple, that's not true. Gaslighting is a full-blown campaign to make you believe the lie. But not only make you believe the lie, but make you believe that the lie is the truth and your own mind is what's broken. It's war on your own reality. It shows up in a few different ways. One of the most common is countering and denial. The manipulator flatly denies something happened when you know it did. That never happened. I never said that. You're making things up. They say it with such absolute clarity that you start to wobble. So here's the deal. You have a crystal clear memory of your partner promising to get to an important family event. You talked about it Tuesday, by the kitchen window. The day comes, They're a no-show. Later, you bring it up, hurt and confused. A simple liar says, I forgot. What a gaslighter says, we never had that conversation. Are you sure you're not mixing it up with something else? You've been so stressed lately, your memory's been off. See the difference? You see that move? It's not about the broken promise anymore. It's about your faulty memory. They're planting a seed of doubt about the reliability of your entire mind. Another form is trivializing. Speaking too long. Trivializing your feelings. You express your hurt, and they don't address it. Instead, they attack your right to feel that way. You're being too sensitive. You're overreacting. Or the classic, it was just a joke. That one personally always pissed me off. This tells you that your emotional response is the problem, not their behavior. Over time, you start to believe it. You stop trusting your gut, which is your primary defense system. Gaslighters are also masters of withholding and diverting. You try to have a serious talk and they pretend not to understand or change the subject by attacking you. You say, I'm upset. You told your friend my private medical info. They will divert with, you're getting your information from those unreliable websites again, aren't you? Suddenly, you're defending your source instead of dealing with their betrayal. Pause right there for just a sec. This is actually the exact tactic that people use when they use the term conspiracy theory in a derogatory way, when it's meant to discredit you. There's a word I'm thinking of, and I can't. It's like right there when it's a pejorative. When conspiracy theorist is used as a pejorative, which it usually is, that's what this tactic is. So withholding and diverting. They won't address the subject, and then they'll call you a conspiracy theorist. Diversion. That way they don't actually have to ever address the information that you bring up. So wanted to point that out because this happens a lot. I've been dealing with it ever since I became aware of some of the realities of the world, which now has made you a conspiracy theorist since, well, ever since the, I think that document came out in the 60s or 70s, basically when the CIA wrote a memo explaining how to discredit people questioning the JFK assassination. Ever since then, it has been an official Mockingbird media talking point. So that one was special to point out. Okay, let's get through the rest of these real quick so we can get to the end. Okay, so section number 3 is the victim card, strategic helplessness. So this is a classic. This is used everywhere, a real go-to for manipulators. Strategically playing the victim. This isn't about someone genuinely going through a hard time. This is about someone who tries or who uses the idea of victimhood as a weapon to dodge responsibility, make you feel guilty, and to control you, or at least attempt to. So it flips accountability right on its head. Someone playing the victim card has a story for everything, and they're never the one at fault. They lose their job. The boss was out to get them. They get in a fight. The other person provoked them. They break a promise. The world is just conspiring against them. They are the masters at shifting blame. If you try to hold them accountable, they will definitely, I don't know, understand why that was so hard. They will definitely turn it around to make you the bad guy. Let's run a scenario real quick. You confront your friend for bailing on plans again. You say, I feel hurt when you cancel so often. It makes me feel like I'm not a priority. It's a real womanly thing to say, but I guess these are two women talking to each other. A responsible person might say, you're right. I'm sorry. I've been overcommitting. I'll do better. Right. Straightforward, honest, has humility. But a victim, a professional victim, somebody that pulls the victim card, they'll sigh heavily and say, you have no idea how hard things are for me right now. I'm so overwhelmed. I guess I'm just a terrible friend. Everyone's disappointed in me lately. We've all heard that one before. Maybe not exactly that, but we've heard it before. Let's see. So I think we're pretty familiar with the victim card. I mean, there's large communities that survive on using the victim card. So, okay, let's, where's the next? Okay, so we did victim card. We're on sign number 4, love bombing, the affection ambush. This one is deceptive as hell, even if you know about it. We're talking love bombing, the affection ambush. This is where a manipulator shows you with intense over-the-top affection, flattery, and attention right at the start. It feels like a fairy tale. They call you their soulmate, and I'm going to include, it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be somebody that wants to be your friend. Actually, it usually is. Love bombing actually, I would say, takes place with friends. But it is definitely a common overused tactic for men and women to use on each other in romantic relationships. So it is definitely good to know. Okay, so it can happen, in a relationship. It could be that this person calls you their soulmate only after a few dates. They bombard you with gifts, compliments, constant text. You feel seen and adored like never before. As a man, just a side note, I've never thought to myself, oh my God, I feel so seen. I'm adored. Oh my Lord. I don't know. I just thought that kind of popped into my head and I thought it was funny. I've never once thought that. Maybe that's me. Maybe you have. I haven't. So anyways, so you feel seen and adored like never before. This is the idolization phase of their op. They put you on a pedestal. They say things like, I've never felt this way before, or you were the most perfect person I've ever met. They push for commitment at lightning speed, talking about moving in or getting married within weeks. To anyone not in the know, it just feels like you finally found the one. But love bombing isn't real affection. It's a calculated setup. The goal is to get you hooked, to make you emotionally dependent, and to establish control before you see who they really are. The overwhelming affection makes you ignore the red flags. A love bomber will often try to isolate you. They'll make little digs about your family or friends. They don't really get our connection, or I just want you all to myself. They want you to be, or they want to be your only source of support, which makes you more vulnerable later. This is love bombing. And the longer that goes on, it can become very dangerous. Okay, so number 5, the 5th way to be able to tell if you're being manipulated, the guilt trip. And this is very common. I know you guys know it, but it's good to go over it because, well, it's on the list for 1. For 2, this is a review of Propaganda and PSYOPS 101. This is at the base, right? This is 101. The guilt trip. The good old guilt trip, what I call weaponized obligation. Guilt is a powerful emotion, and manipulators are experts at using it to make you do whatever they want. It's their way of saying, if you don't do what I want, you are a bad person, and it will be your fault that I'm unhappy. This is especially effective with family, partners, or friends. When a sense of duty and obligation already exists, the manipulator just turns that bond into a lever for control. It can be overt or covert. Overt guilt tripping is direct. After everything I've done for you, you can't do this one thing for me? Or, I thought you loved me, but I guess not. Since you'd rather go out with your friends. It's designed to make you feel selfish, ungrateful, and like you owe them. But the covert stuff, man, that's where it really gets you. The more subtle, passive-aggressive comments, dramatic sighs, the silent treatment. You tell your partner you can't make a family dinner. Instead of a direct accusation, they say, oh, well, that's fine. I guess I'll just eat alone. Don't worry about me. The words are agreeable, but the subtext is dripping with manufactured disappointment. The unspoken message is, you are abandoning me, and my loneliness is your fault. It makes you feel terrible and often pressures you into caving, which is exactly the goal. The result of constant guilt trips is that you stop making decisions based on what you want or need. You live in a state of preemptive guilt, always trying to manage their feelings. It's exhausting, and it builds a deep resentment. The relationship becomes a source of obligation, not joy. Okay? Those are 5 very simple ways to be able to tell if you're being manipulated right now. Now, this is, of course, in mind, this is, in my mind, meant to be used out in public, out in the political climate, on social media, as you encounter propaganda or come across a PSYOP. To be able to refresh these ideas so you can take that out to the world, because the world seems to be getting heavier and thicker with these psychological landmines, for lack of a better way to describe it. Now, it's always good to come back and touch base with the basics, which is why I wanted to do this. And honestly, I'm probably going to end up making this a series. Or maybe I'll just redo these and do individual videos instead of a live stream, make it a little bit more organized and a little bit more shareable videos, if that makes sense. Let's see. We're not going to get to that. That'll be for another show. Okay, 5 signs. Let's see. Let's see. So I do have some advanced detection techniques for PSYOPs. That is going to have to be its own show. Actually, we can run through a couple of them. So just to give you guys kind of an idea of what I'm talking about when I say advanced detection techniques, this is, you've got the FATE model. That's the core of it. That is so important. These advanced detection techniques, or this is going to be the things that will actually help you with the propaganda online, with all the things today. Okay. So I'll give you a couple of them, so you don't have to wait till the next show, but there will be a next show. So make sure and hit the like, subscribe, share, do all those things, because you're going to want to know when this show comes out to get these advanced techniques, which if I can do it, I'll do it tomorrow. It will be ASAP. That way we're still talking about these things when relevant. Well, actually, these are always going to be relevant. So just keep an eye out. It is coming soon. Let's see. Let me wet my whistle. Okay, so advanced detection techniques. And this is for PSYOPS, propaganda. Number one, novelty exploitation. The mechanism. Our brains are evolutionarily wired to focus on sudden or unusual changes as potential threats or opportunities. The PSYOP application of this is creating events that break normal expectations, unexpected crises or dramatic revelations, artificially manufactured or timed events. Example, a viral video claims to expose a government cover-up, but conveniently emerges the exact same day, damning evidence against a high-ranking official is released, shifting the public focus. So the example, once again, a viral video claims to expose a government cover-up, but conveniently emerges the exact same day that damaging evidence against a high-ranking official is released, completely missed because the public had their focus shifted. Okay, so the detection questions regarding this. Ask this question. Why is this new? Is the timing suspicious or artificially manufactured? Look for patterns like sudden shifts in public opinion or coincidental viral content. Something to keep in mind. This is happening a lot right now, by the way. The novelty exploitation. It seems to be everywhere. So once again, the PSYOP application of a novelty exploitation is creating events that break normal expectation, unexpected crises or dramatic revelations, and artificially manufactured or timed events. Okay, so advanced technique number 2. Advanced detection technique number 2. Source centralization analysis. Red flag: when all media outlets present identical talking points, this is a humongous red flag. What creates the problems? Echo chambers that silence dissent. Narrowed perspectives through groupthink. Identical phrasing across different sources. This is also happening right now. If you guys look, I know you're looking. You watch the show, you're looking. This is happening. So source centralization analysis. The examples: during a health crisis, all major news outlets report on the exact same study, but independent researchers revealed the study was funded by a company selling the solution. Wow, we're back in COVID. That's like a perfect example. You know, as you're listening to this, I bet something comes to mind. I would be surprised if something doesn't. Okay, so here's a counter strategy to be able to counter this source centralization analysis. So the counter strategy is to actively seek out contrarian or independent voices. Hi, I'm Jacob Johnson, the host of Rise to Liberty, a contrarian and independent voice. Make sure and hit the subscribe and like button. You like that one? Okay, so actively seek out contrarian or independent voices. Challenge something that's already in your head. Challenge your own ideas, your own mind. Even if you've made it up already, it's not the point. Look for diverse perspectives on the same issues, because not everything is quite black and white. I mean, we can have the same ideas and look at it from completely different angles. And that's good. You should hear these things, talk about these things, hear these different ideas, which, regardless of exactly what the truth is, this is why I find the whole Charlie Kirk thing upsetting. Colleges are all supposed to be about free speech. You were supposed to go to college to have your beliefs not only defined, and, you know, maybe out of high school, you don't really have any. So you go find them and you define them and you make them yours. You learn about them. But most importantly, they are challenged. And they are challenged because another idea comes along and confronts it. Now, I don't like painting with a large generalized brush, usually, unless it's warranted. Left and right are both guilty of this, guilty as shit. However, the left is a lot worse at this. The left would prefer the echo chambers. They want people to not dissent from what they believe because what they believe is true. And that's fucking bullshit. They don't want their ideas challenged because then they lose. Maybe because their ideas are wrong most of the time. There's a couple of things I agree, can't think of right now off the top of my head, but maybe a couple of things. However, that's why all of this happened, right? At least officially, that's why this happened, is because Charlie Kirk was, in a nice way, in a very polite way, demolishing these kids' worldviews that they largely learned from the colleges, their parents, their friends, their echo chambers, their professors, their social commentators, who all think and act the same. Their ideas were largely getting destroyed. I don't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk said or did. I'm a lot more radical than he is, but he was assassinated for his beliefs and speaking them. And that is, first of all, that's the biggest problem. I think it shows that the left has lost, because if you were going to be able to win, you would have done it. So it's a massive problem. And even if Charlie wasn't necessarily right about what he was talking about, well, it's his opinion. You don't like his opinion, argue back. It's the whole point of college. And honestly, it's not the whole point of life, but it is definitely a decent chunk of life, because I mean, the difference between what are we going to eat for dinner tonight to what is the meaning of existence and everywhere in between. I mean, it's literally how we figure out the semantics, which the whole point of semantics is to be able to differentiate between two different objects. So when people say, I'm not going to argue semantics, okay, so you just don't want to argue reality. You don't want to address reality. But before I get off on a tangent, which I kind of think I am, it's really frustrating that one side definitely refuses to budge on anything. Now, I think that's the way that the ideology is structured, and the core values of it are kind of baked in like that. That would actually make a really interesting interview, is leftist psychology. Like, why is it this way? Why do they choose to be such pieces of shit? Why do they choose to say stupid things? Why are they a bunch of dumb commies? Yeah, we'll do that show sometime. Sounds interesting. Anyways, that's what upsets me about it. I'm a free speech absolutist, and the idea of an echo chamber is nauseating to me. That's where the tangent started. Okay, back on track. Advanced detection techniques for PSYOPS. Detection number 3. Cognitive dissonance weaponization. The technique: using microagreements, small, seemingly harmless concessions, to gradually shape identity and behavior. Let me read that again. Technique: using microagreements, small, seemingly harmless concessions, to gradually shape identity and behavior. How it works: new information clashes with our identity or beliefs. Small commitments that seem minor but shape identity over time. You consciously align behavior to reduce internal conflict. Example: a company's ad campaign claims real patriots buy local. If you disagree with their product, it feels like rejecting your identity as a patriot. America. Basically pushing that person to conform. So I think we can see this everywhere. I mean, this is left, right, centrist, non-political. It's everywhere. So here's a couple of protection methods against this. And this, the left couldn't do. I am not convinced that a genuine leftist, meaning a new liberal, a person on the new left, which is way different than the left 20, 30 years ago, but whatever. I don't believe a genuine leftist would be able to do these. So the protection method, or methods, to protect yourself from getting yourself in a situation where cognitive dissonance is a reality. These are the methods as follows. Reflect on your identity and ask, am I being nudged to identify with some group? Be very careful of campaigns asking for seemingly minor commitments. Sign petitions, change profile pictures. Be very skeptical about identity statements. Regardless of the identity, you've got to be skeptical. And honestly, I should probably update this, but another way is to make sure that you have varying opinions. Make sure you have them accessible to you. So wherever you get your information, if everyone agrees with you, you're in an echo chamber, surrounded by a bunch of yes men that are not going to help. You need that friend. You need that friend to be able to tell you when you're acting fucking stupid. And if you're in an echo chamber, that will never happen. And yes, internal reflection about who you are and what you think and why you think it. Is it right? Could I possibly believe something else? Asking these questions and doing this internal work is definitely almost a guaranteed way to make sure you do not end up with cognitive dissonance because you're consistent. You won't eventually come across the wrong information in your mind. You have a bad idea, you got bad information. Maybe you're just not far along enough in the thinking. But it will allow you, when that does happen, when you're confronted with that bad information, the wrong idea, instead of cognitive dissonance where it says, "How that hurts," and you go back and you double down and you get away from it so you don't have to deal with that pain of your brain growing and coming to truth. Doing this internal work will allow you to reach that cognitive dissonance and say, "Oh, I was wrong. Well, I have new information now. I have updated my opinion. Let's keep moving." Like I said, the left couldn't do that. Okay, these last two we'll go through super quick so we can do the very last thing to get out of here. So, number 4, emotional script activation. The target So emotional script activation. The target is ancient survival scripts embedded in our psychology by our ancestors. Common scripts that get exploited by this type of psyop are scarcity fears, sudden warnings about limited resources, water, medicine, tribal rejection, threats of being socially outcast. You're selfish if you don't comply. Trust the science. You're killing grandma. Protection or protection of offspring appeals to children's future. And of course, survival threats, direct danger messaging. These are emotional scripts. These are embedded in us and can be activated and manipulated. The example, a politician says, "If we don't act now, our children will not have a future." How many times have you heard that shit? This taps into survival instincts and creates urgency without facts. And that's the problem. So the defensive approach, how do you protect yourself against this? Well, you break the script by focusing on facts. You're going to ask, what's the actual likelihood of this scenario? And then you're going to compare claims with multiple sources. Remember, these emotional triggers override logic every time. So yes, this is a very common one that people know about, but it's incredibly important to remember this one. Just because it's basic, or I guess, I have these labeled as advanced, but they're like intermediate, I guess. However, this detection, the PSYOP detection breakdown. It's important to know these because we can get so far along and we can forget this information. Sometimes we need to be reminded of the basics and think about the basics. We've got to go back to the basement every now and then, clean out some cobwebs, make sure everything's clean, make sure it's watertight, you know. These are some of the most common forms of PSYOPs that we deal with on a daily basis, whether it's good or bad. We have politicians, we have TV show hosts, news anchors, our bosses, our partners. Well, maybe not all partners, but hopefully we all have good ones. But we have just people everywhere trying to manipulate these survival scripts. So you have to know this. The fear of scarcity, sudden warnings about limited resources, tribal rejection, threats of being socially outcast, protection of offspring, appeals to children's futures. Won't somebody please think of the children? Mod Flanders. Survival threats, direct danger messages. So once again, the defensive approach, break the script by focusing on facts. Ask the question, what's the actual likelihood of this scenario? Compare claims with multiple sources. Remember, these emotional triggers override logic every time. All right. So this is going to be the last advanced PSYOP detection technique. I do have a lot more of these. I do have a lot more of these techniques. However, to go through all of them properly, we would have to have it be its own show, which we will. So be on the lookout for that. But number 5, financial trail analysis. The principle. Follow the money, identifying who benefits always reveals the motive. So as far as this last week, if we want to figure out who, follow the money. Follow the money. Follow the money. I was going to try and do the follow the yellow brick road, but there wasn't enough syllables. It worked out in my head. Womp womp. Okay. So follow the money, identifying who benefits always reveals the motive. Investigation methods. Look for funding sources, sponsorships, or political connections. Use tools like opensecrets.org or public financial records. Identify which industries, the pharmaceuticals, pharmaceutical company, tech companies, etc., stand to gain the most. Who paid this person to say this? Who wants this person to get this done? Who wants this politician to pass this bill? Who wants them to do what? That usually answers why, at least. You know, finding the motive is a big deal. So an example, a charity is promoting clean energy awareness, seems noble, until investigations show it's funded by a solar panel corporation lobbying for subsidies. So the key question is who profits if I believe and act on this information? So think about it. Who benefits from Charlie Kirk being gone the way that he is? Well, actually, no. Let's rephrase that. Who benefits the most from assassinating a political thought leader of the up-and-coming generation in front of everyone? Who benefits from committing that act? I can think of a few people, but that's a discussion for another day. So, okay, there's the first 5 advanced PSYOP detection techniques. Real quick. Number 5, financial trail analysis, follow the money. Emotional script activation. If somebody's trying to make you emotional, ask why and avoid it. You never make good decisions when you're super emotional. Number 3, cognitive dissonance weaponization. Hear different opinions, listen to different opinions, but also understand how they work. Don't just hear them. Don't just listen until it's your turn to speak. Actually understand the arguments. Challenge your own arguments. Argue from different perspectives. Do whatever you have to, but if you're in an echo chamber, that's retarded. You're going to be retarded. Number 2, source centralization analysis. Always wonder, where everything is coming from. Echo chambers that silence dissent is usually what causes the problem. Narrowed perspective through group speak and identical phrasing across different sources. When everything's starting to become one, when everyone's reporting the exact same thing, the exact same way, you start hearing groups of people doing the same thing, talking about the exact same talking points. Start questioning it. And lastly, number 1, novelty exploitation. Our brains are evolutionarily wired to focus on sudden or unusual changes as potential threats or opportunities. A viral video claims to expose a government cover-up, but conveniently emerges the exact same day. Damaging evidence against a high-ranking official is released, shifting public focus, almost like Epstein. Which reminds me to go right there. The very first comment that I knew I was going to use at some point. This last week, we've talked about Charlie, talked about a lot of different subjects, free speech and assassinations and, media trustworthy, or is the media trustworthy? All these different subjects. But right before this, we're talking about Epstein. We were talking about that woman that was murdered in North Carolina, right? We were talking about these other subjects, and these are incredibly important. That right there is a novelty exploitation. Okay. That is them changing the subject. They didn't do it on purpose though, right? Or did they? All right. So that is definitely going to be the what I had prepared. There's a couple of things I didn't get to, but this is also kind of what happens. Unfortunately, I have some things I got to do. So I can't stay on here as long as I wanted to, because honestly, I'd probably stream 3-4 hours. I'll see if I can hop on somebody else's show, or maybe just do another show later. Probably going to do a show tomorrow or Monday, kind of just waiting to see how things play out. And the best way to find out is hit that like, share, subscribe, do all those things, hit the follow button, because this project, everything that I'm working on is not only for you guys, for myself, of course, but it's for you guys. And so I have to have your help in making sure that it also gets out there to find more of us. What is it that PBS used to say? And funded by viewers like you. Literally funded, ran, exposed, everything by viewers like you. So that's that. Let's see, what were we going to finish on? I know there was There was something good. Let's see, where was it? What do you guys think about the number 33? I think it's odd. I think it comes up a lot. But my honest opinion, I think that the PSYOP, or the idea that the Illuminati or Freemasons utter 33 every time to let people know that it's fake or whatever. I think that idea, the idea of the Illuminati or Freemasons or whatever using 33 and it being used all the time everywhere, I think that's the actual PSYOP. I think it's a joke that they play on everyone to get everyone talking about shit like that. And it's literally just, hey, want to see what I can do? You know, I understand that in certain instances, certain fraternal orders and stuff, there, you know, numerology is a thing. The problem is that it means something different for everyone. I don't genuinely believe that there is a real message or signal to be sent with 33, other than the fact that the elite are fucking with us. That's just my opinion, though. I think it's a joke. I think it's a troll, a total troll. That weirdly reading far too much into it. And that's the joke, because they're making us look stupid. Okay. What the hell was that? The searchable database of over 20,000 individuals celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder will soon be available on our website. It will be searchable by general location, employer. That scares me. And that scares me because that was put together so quickly by Americans. And the list is of Americans. Granted, they are terrible Americans, but Americans nonetheless. And it does scare me because I guarantee the state would love that sort of ability, because they put together that whole list, the website, the information, found all the employers all in a couple of days. Could you imagine if the state wanted something done? They don't have to do it. We do it for them. And then it gets used against us. These people are sick, and I know that they would want that done. So I had to mention that real quick. Let's see. I know there was something in here. Don't tell me I didn't save it. Let's see. Okay, so this actually broke right before I started, but a bill had been introduced into Congress that would allow Marco Rubio to revoke the passports of U.S. citizens if they criticize Israel. Let's see. There we go. What the fuck is that? I don't give a shit how you feel about that damn country. This is the most un-American thing I've ever heard. Can't criticize a foreign nation or you'll take my passport. So you're going to turn me into a slave. You're going to make sure I can't exit the country because I said some big old mean nasty words about a little place. I picked on the little guy. Get the fuck out of here. There needs to be a massive massive public outlash about this. This is insane. Also, not helping their case as far as the whole Jews run the world thing. Like, saw reports that apparently Trump is scared of Bibi Netanyahu. Charlie Kirk said he was scared of Bibi Netanyahu. Who knows if that's right, but Cernovich, hate that dude. No, we're not supposed to like hate people, but I hate that dude. This is all stuff I've saved for the show to talk about for one reason or another. All right, I can't. Yeah, I don't know if I saved it, which makes me feel like an asshole. All right. Well, I think unless anyone that's watching this has any questions or anything, I think we'll just get out of here on that. Like I said, I've got some things I got to get to. We will talk about this this story with this poor woman at some point, but not today. That is not today's topic. All right, so I think we'll end with this. I definitely want to end with a quote, but there was a man by the name of Kurt Lewin. He was a German psychiatrist, and he was also the director of the Tavistock Institute during the 1930s. The Tavistock Institute, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically an institute in the UK that studied MK Ultra, mind control, brainwashing, but also, and specifically, they studied social engineering. So mind control of the masses, and not just like Edward Bernays style propaganda, which is also control. It's social engineering, but no. That like what they studied specifically was social control. Like, how do I stand up in front of a group and make them do as I say? Kind of social engineering. That might be a bad example, but anyways, Lewin actually argued that by creating controlled chaos, the population could be brought to a point where they would voluntarily submit to greater control. So this is called, introducing chaos to make, everything seems so outlandish and chaotic that we ourselves, the citizens, beg for normalcy, okay? This is called the strategy of shock, a term popularized by Naomi Klein with her book entitled The Strategy of Shock, The Rise of Capitalism of Disaster from 2007. Never heard of it. So that was inspired by brainwashing techniques that aim to destroy the memory of the subject, to break his capacity for resistance in order to obtain a blank page on which a new personality can be printed. These techniques can be applied on the scale of an entire population by causing a tabula rasa, or clean slate, white slate, by destroying a country's heritage, as well as its social and economic structures, in order to be able to build a new society, a new order, after the planned and controlled chaos. Once the people are deprived of their landmarks, put in a state of shock, and infantilized, they find themselves defenseless and easily manipulated and disposable. The process can be applied following a serious economic or political crisis, an environmental disaster, or an attack, or a war. But it can also be applied gradually over the long term. The Tavistock Institute is a key point in terms of founding projects of global mind control, social engineering, and more precisely here, of organized social chaos. The complex organization has managed to totally change the paradigm of our modern society, according to its official website. That's more about organization. We're supposed to have more. Okay, so traumatizing to reprogram is a standard modus operandi of Tavistock. Here we find the protocol of individual mental programming based on trauma. It is a question of erasing the original personality of the subject by a succession of traumas to then install a new programmed personality, a new order. Ordo ab chaos. Chaos? I don't know. I don't speak Latin. Order is born of chaos. The motto of Freemasonry. Or dissolve the elements and then the coagulate. Good Lord. Glad this is towards the end. The great mystery of the alchemists. Formulas that seem to apply well in the field of mind control, both individually and collectively. Isn't that interesting? So the whole point of introducing people to a traumatic experience, a traumatic event, is something. Let's see. Yes, says this book is a must read, unlike her recent work. Let's see. Let me go back and go pull the name of that book. Okay. Well, thank you for the recommendation. I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, never heard of the book, but definitely sounds interesting. Definitely interesting. And if you're recommending it, I'll make sure and put it on the to buy list, which is also getting quite long these days. Also, I mean, hey, if anybody ever wants to buy me a book, I mean, see, I have a stack over here. If you want to add to my library, I will gladly send you the list, let you pick one. I mean, girls do that shit, right? That's weird. Like, hey, I have this list of Amazon stuff. Do you want to buy it for me? All my stuff is books. That's like all I want is books. So you can help support the channel that way too, but I will make sure and pick that book up for sure. So the documentary is very effective too. Duly noted. I will make sure, write down that it has documentary. So before I forget my train of thought, and so we can finish wrapping up, get out of here. Traumatizing to reprogram is the standard modus operandi of Tavistock. So this idea typically comes from them. They're not the first people to do it, but they're the most famous ones for doing it and perfecting it. The protocol of individual mental programming based on trauma. It is a question of erasing the original personality of the subject by a succession of traumas, or to then install a new programmed personality, a new order. Order is born of chaos, the motto of Freemasonry. Or dissolve the elements and then coagulate. The great mystery of the alchemist, formulas that seem to apply here in the field of mind control, both individually and collectively, which is exactly what it feels like we just lived through, is an occult ritual, which is definitely how I feel that day was. Whether you guys believe in it or not, I know these people do. There are people out there that believe in this shit and they love harvesting misery out of the public. They love it. Absolutely love it. I don't necessarily believe a lot of this stuff, but they do, and they put the energy into believing it, and they have the ability to cause these problems and harvest what comes of that. And I think this Charlie Kirk thing, that was part of it. That was definitely part of it. But it sounds like this as well. So we're going to finish up here with a quote from Kurt Lewin, German psychiatrist, director of the Tavistock Institute in the 1930s. He said, if terror can be induced on a basis widely dispersed in a society, then society returns to tabula rasa, a white slate, a situation where control can easily be established. So basically, from here on out, every single one of you, whether you're watching this now live or whether you're watching this replay, be on the lookout for more control coming our way, because I'm pretty sure, let's get back to the top, come on. Okay, let's do this. Because it seems like we have something right on the precipice. We have something really terrible happen. They harvest all of that. Now we've got more control coming down. Classic Tavistock. Classic mind control. Classic social engineering. And a lot of people are walking directly into it with both eyes open. So I hope everyone enjoyed this live stream. It was a little bit longer. I haven't done one in a minute, so I wanted to do a bit longer. There's so much more. There's so much more. I will be doing another stream to complete my advanced PSYOP detection techniques. There's also going to be a worksheet, like this downloadable thing that you guys will be able to get. It's going to be awesome. It's so cool. It's like a checklist thing. It will teach you a bunch of stuff. It has tons of information. It's reusable, and it applies to not only government, but media and personal relationships, all sorts of things. It's badass. It is badass. I am very proud of it. So keep an eye out for that. And one of the best ways you can do that is you can go over to my Substack. That is one of the best ways to be able to keep up with what I'm doing, at least now. For anyone who doesn't know, so I'm switching a bunch of stuff over. I guess it's a good time for a channel update. I'm switching a bunch of stuff over. I dropped my website. My Substack will now be my main website. Substack is going to be home base. There's a bunch of really cool things that I've been setting up for it. So go there, or go to my X account, my Twitter account. You can go there, at Rise to Liberty. You can go to Telegram, at Rise to Liberty, or I'm on Instagram at Rise to Liberty Pod. Unfortunately, since I'm switching things over this weekend, my URL, risetoliberty.com, is not currently set up. Starting next week, it will be. So just search, find my profiles. My URLs will start working next week. We've got a lot cooler things coming on. Got some interviews coming up that are going to be fun. Pretty much this last month, I've been doing nothing but writing scripts, coming up with show ideas. So now it's time to put those out and give you fine folks some really awesome information and some good entertainment. I'm excited for it. Hit the like, share, subscribe, all those things to make sure you don't miss them, because I'm trying my best to not only have fun doing these shows, making sure that you guys have fun, but also make sure that you guys learn something that you take away from this. I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure you guys get the most out of this, myself included. So do me that favor to hit the like, share, subscribe. Go visit all those platforms and keep an eye out for the next one, because it will be soon. And it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. And until next time, stay free, my friends.